Allison Kenworthy, the founder of Homeworthy, and today I am thrilled to bring you a special episode. We are at the Winter Show at the Park Avenue Armory on Manhattan's Upper East Side. And as you can see behind me, there are rows and rows of antique dealers from around the world who have brought the most exquisite jewelry and art, from Rodin to Winslow Homer, rare cars. We're gonna get a behind the scenes look and we're gonna see it all. Come with me. These are ruby lips with pearl teeth, modeled after Marilyn Monroe, created, designed by Salvador Dali.
And made by Henrik Carlson here in New York in the 1970s.
So I don't know very much about cars. There's no antique dealer here right now, but I have to show you this incredible automobile. We're gonna read about it. It's a 1930 Roadster, asking $1,450,000. I'm not sure where I would drive this. Probably somewhere fabulous. Maybe a movie set would use this for something, but it looks as if it's in perfect condition. Now I want to take you over to Barbara Israel Garden Antiques. She's based in Katonah, New York, and she has a very sweet assortment of 12 teddy bears, stone teddy bears. It's like Teddy Bear's Picnic. They are asking $7,500. My favorite is this little guy here who has his bum in the air. You can see little remnants of moss. I just think they're adorable. I want to show you the Steinitz gallery right up here. They're from Paris, France, and they have the most gorgeous paneling, which you can see right here. Unfortunately, they're gone at the moment, but I wanted you to see how beautiful this is.
For me, I always say purple and animal prints are neutral in my mind, so I love them both. Now, there's no animal print in here, but there's always animals.
Let's go over here to my dramatic seagull. So I love carvings. I think they are just something that will speak to anyone. So this bird has a great story. It turned up from a great dealer in Boston. And what I love about it is, look at how elegant these wings are. You know, they start out real thick and just taper down to nothing at the end. And even the back has all the feathers. And, you know, he shows great personality. It's not one that's just, you know, sitting there. And, you know, this reminds me when you're at the beach, you know, the seagulls are everywhere.
Yeah, and they're snatching your sandwiches.
Yeah, exactly. And they're just waiting to take off. I was like, you know, this is so exciting. Somebody has a beach house that this would be just perfect in.
This is an elegant seagull.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's press day here at the Winter Show. I have my press badge. I have my trusty little map that shows where all 65 vendors are. As you can see, they are still putting down the carpet. They're still getting ready, but we are going to get an exclusive look at some of these beautiful pieces of art. Let's go take a look.
Hi, I'm Alex Papakristis, and this is our beloved boy Cooper, and we are here at the 69th Winter Antique Show, and this is my booth that I designed for the show, and I sort of wanted something that felt a little bit Americana, because this was originally an American show, and I thought it would make sense to have something that felt that way, but I wanted something fresh and happy and cheery. So the room started with this beautiful Manuel Canova wallpaper. I love wallpaper. I love upholstered rooms. I love paneled rooms. I love sort of layered interiors. And so I love this paper, and I love a little bit of lavender always. You know, for me, I always say purple and animal prints are neutral in my mind. So I love them both. Now, there's no animal print in here, but there's always animals.
But it's a jewel box of a dining room.
Well, that's what it is. I sort of thought it was really probably your breakfast room. So I thought it was this divine little breakfast room that you sort of came to, an intimate space that was cozy and sort of just for the family. But it was layered and textured and filled with antiques, which are so important to me, as well as contemporary elements. The Mark Benkowski chandelier, which I love, from Maison Girard, which is contemporary, and the wonderful contemporary painting from Achille Savani, which I think is so beautiful. And then, you know, the wonderful Regency furniture from Hyde Park.
Alex, when you start with a room, when you look at a space like this, Where do you start?
Well, this started with the wallpaper because I felt like it was sort of, you don't have great architecture, obviously. So you need to have sort of, as I say, bang for your buck. And you want to give something that gives instant decorating to a room.
Sure.
And nothing really does that like wallpaper. You know, wallpaper is kind of the most economic way. I mean, this is not a custom to Gournay or Gracie wallpaper. This is something from Count & Tout that's ready-made. And so I love that because it gives you a full direction. Now, normally you should probably start with the carpet. I actually started with the wallpaper, and it was very challenging to find the right carpet.
But then you go with something sort of neutral.
But then I found this beautiful, from Doris Leslie Blau, this beautiful little antique rug that sort of felt, again, old school, like something Sister Parish would have used. And I love that feeling. And then, you know, I wanted, because again, I felt like it should feel American, and you know, the Americans used all that Chinese export porcelain, but I wanted to use Delft. So I make these dishes, and I just love the Delft dishes with the floral walls, and the table's all custom for me by Everyday Elegance, my other business that I do. And the Christopher Spitzmiller candlesticks and lamps are a signature thing that I also love. And then, you know, just sort of making it feel like home. You know, like a sort of cozy little lived-in interior that was layered. I love the Chinese gouaches and the brackets with the birds and those
like
wonderful
a mushroom mushroom chair.
Well, it's like a little stool. I actually thought that it's a great, you know, I always find that when people come over, they're always looking for a place to put down their handbag. They're always looking for a place, and I love that sort of as a little stool to pull up, to use for whatever, but I love the whimsy of that odd little green mushroom. And then the Andy Warhol photograph, you know, are sort of the odes to contemporary, because I think the way people live today is they collect. And they collect things that are relevant to them, that are personal, but also contemporary things. You know, we all love to mix the traditional. That's what keeps it fresh and makes rooms not feel like period rooms. And it also gives you the ability to travel and to find things that you love and mix them in a personal way that makes a home special, unique, and personal. And I always encourage my clients to layer their interiors and make them cozy. And you know, decorating is a great luxury, and it should be a joy. It should be something that you have fun doing, and we make it fun.
How do you have the best behaved dog?
Well, because he's so socialized. He goes everywhere with us, and Cooper is just, you know, we love him so much. He's such a good boy. He's actually not a prince. So our Yorkie was a prince. Cooper's much more like a woodland creature, we call him. He loves to go to Central Park and play with the dogs and roll in the grass. And he's a real animal, but he's just cute.
And then he comes back into luxurious dining rooms.
He does live very luxuriously. You can be sure of that. He sleeps on silk velvet Laminox, so he's quite grand in his simple way.
Okay, so this is the famous book. This is a real labor of love?
Oh my God, it is. You know, working with Rizzoli and doing these books, it's my second book with Rizzoli. It came out this October. And it's just, I was talking to somebody about the importance of a book. It's really the only thing that keeps a decorator alive forever. You know, you hope that one day somebody will walk into a used bookstore, not know who you are, and find this book and sort of feel the magic of what you've done and remember you by your books. And, you know, it's full of projects and table settings and things that I love. And yes, it's a labor of love and it's a lot of work, but it's really worth it.
So this is $110,000 lips modeled after Marilyn Monroe, full of rubies and pearls, designed by Salvador Dali. And they can be yours.
So I'm Martine Haspersla from Didier Limited in London, and we specialise in jewellery by artists acquired from the secondary art market, and not only pieces of jewellery but also pieces of flatware that you'll come to look at now.
I sort of feel like we're on Antique Roadshow. Do you watch that show?
Indeed we do, very much so.
Okay, so this is sort of our version right today of Antique Roadshow. And you are going to tell me what we have here, because this is incredibly special.
It is indeed. It's a set, two sets of cutlery, silver gilt with enamel, supposedly designed by Salvador Dali, and he certainly has a hand in them. He certainly has his name on them, but as it transpired, certainly the spoons with the artichoke bowls with enamelled were designed by Claude Lalande, very much the sculptress of the moment with her husband, François Xavier. But these were designed in 1957 when she was still very young and hadn't made it. They hadn't been discovered by Alexander Eolas and promoted or highlighted or moved from being designers, being window dressers or whatever, into the sculptors that we know and value very much today. So certainly the two spoons.
Let's open. Oh, look at this. So how did Salvador Dali, what's the connection with Dali?
He purchased the designs from her, but didn't quite admit that that's where he got the designs from. And then later on, I mean, he designs the one with that's got an elephant with little ruby eyes, and this one.
Oh my god.
This one is a snail with sort of drops of
Oh my gosh. Is this
as if it's
little glass pieces?
Yes, but might look a bit more like slime, I think. Oh, they're surreal. So they're meant to be fun. Whereas these ones, which are spoon, fork and knife, have sea monsters with sapphire eyes, and these very much are Dali. So it's a bit of Dali and Lalande, but he's appropriated them and hasn't quite admitted their role in the designing of these pieces. However, later on in their books, the Lalandes actually say these were, or certainly these two were their designs.
That's so interesting. Was the intention when they were created to actually be used, or are they really more pieces of art?
I think both. On special occasions, maybe at a wonderful surreal dinner when they are being slightly mad, then you have the cutlery to match. Not quite sure what you'd eat from them though.
Can we pick this one up?
Of course you can.
That's beautiful. I mean, I wouldn't even want to eat from something like this. It's so gorgeous.
It's there.
Can you
It's
imagine?
silver gilt.
Just having your morning cereal with maybe not cereal.
I sort of think more of sort of fish-eyed soup or something like that to keep in the surreal theme.
These are the most spectacular pieces
They
of
are
cutlery
really
I've ever
wonderful,
seen.
and they're just joyful and different and fun in a slightly more carefree days.
So how much is something like this asking for?
The two sets together are $120,000.
And do you think somebody will put this on a table or sort of display it?
I don't know. I hope they're out on display. I hope that people get to enjoy them and seeing them all the time, even if they don't use them
Every day.
every day.
Now, you are wearing more Dali pieces, right?
I am indeed. So he is working with sort of everyday objects, so taking cutlery a little bit further. We have a spoon, which has a working mechanical watch inside of it.
And a comb.
And a moustache comb, because you are Dali after all.
Oh my gosh.
And then for those who are older, will recognise that my earrings, which are partly melting, are old telephone receivers. So in a day where people now are always having telephones pressed to their ears, Dali came up with this, and he patented the design back in 1949, so way, way ahead of the game.
Those are so whimsical and fun.
Well, it's the last thing I'd like to show you from Dali. It's known as the honeycomb heart. It was also, again, designed in 1949. This example is unique in that it's got 250 cabochon rubies inside it and a few little sparkling diamonds. But he designed it because there's a little bit of sweetness in the heart of every woman.
That's so funny. Oh, I'm just noticing this honeycomb now. Somehow my eyes were just attracted to the rubies.
It is 250 rubies, or is it 160?
We're fact checking.
In fact, I counted them, so.
But what we do know is that it's $350,000.
We do indeed, yes.
Okay, am I allowed to hold it?
Of course you are. That's the whole point of coming to a fair like this.
Can I just say, this is the perfect Valentine's Day gift for somebody. This is unbelievable.
It's wonderful.
Well, welcome to the Winter Antique Show. I'm Liz Feld. I'm from Herschel and Adler Galleries. We are local. We're from 57th and Madison.
So around the corner?
Around the corner. Easy to get to. We are basically Americanists. We're showing work from the 18th century all the way through, partway through the 20th century. We're showing everything from Thomas Sully and Eastman Johnson and Charles Wilson Peele, all the way up to Winslow Homer and John Singer Sargent. And then on the decorative art side, we've set a beautiful dining room here to welcome you into the fair.
I do feel like I'm in a personal home.
I'm waiting for someone to bring something very delicious to eat, but that hasn't happened just yet. We're looking at a fantastic American banquet table, which is pretty rare in itself. Most of the tables you see are English, and a gorgeous set of 16 Duncan Fife dining chairs, which are actually documented. So you hear about Duncan Fife all the time. Touch them, absolutely. You hear about Duncan Fife all the time. These are documented, which is a rarity in the world of American neoclassical furniture. We actually know who they were made for. They were made for Stephen Van Rensselaer. I was trying to take out a seat to show you, but this seat doesn't come out. Stephen Van Rensselaer IV, and most of them are actually marked Van Rens, which is just to show that they all belong to him. He was up in Albany, one of the original patroons, sort of a Dutch heritage system, and had a huge property and a table to fit 16, clearly. We're showing a table for 10. We've used a French porcelain service. I have 300 pieces in this service of old Paris porcelain.
That's enormous.
Which is absolutely gorgeous. Every floral scene painted is different, plate to plate.
And all hand painted.
All hand painted. We're showing just a small portion of the service because obviously we can only invite 10 guests to our table.
How many people do you think 300 pieces serves?
That's a good question. I'm going to guess 24 to 30. Of course, certain sizes and certain forms get broken over time, so what we're left with 200 years later will probably serve 24. And soup tureens and sauce tureens and covered vegetable dishes and sauce boats, and we have patisserie stands and sweetmeat dishes and all sorts of incredible forms, including compotes that we've filled with fruit and candy and leaves and our little birds in their nests. So we're going to have a very lavish dinner party here.
So this needs to go to somebody who likes to have parties.
And who has a very large dining room.
Right, and a very large table.
And a lot of friends.
So Liz, I think what's really special about your booth is that you have made it feel like a home. I assume that's intentional.
Welcome home. It is intentional. Every year we try to put together a booth that would imitate a domestic space so that people can sort of envision how the works of art would look in their home, or if not in their home, perhaps a client's home. It's meant not to be intimidating. It's meant to be welcoming and warm, and just have a seat at our table and join our art party, because we have really everything from glassware to paintings to fixtures to sculptures. It really is the way a home gets put together in layers with different media, different types of material. And for us, every work of art is important, but it's how you put it together that sort of lives with someone, that they remember.
And you help people imagine how they can use it.
We do, absolutely. Even in the gallery, we have one room that's very, very different in scale and aspect to the others. It's much more domestic, so that we can see how something gets put together to help a client really sink into it and feel like they're at home.
Knock, knock.
Oh my goodness, how are you doing?
Hello.
Wonderful to see you.
Okay, so small world moment, we have to tell everybody.
Absolutely.
So we have Taylor Thistlethwaite here, who is married to a dear friend of mine from high school.
I know.
In Washington, D.C. So we have worlds colliding
Absolutely. It is a tiny world, isn't it?
It is a tiny world. And I'm just so excited to see what you have today.
Well,
tell us everything.
thank you. You know, the Winter Show is where we save our very best and bring it out. But it's not always just about the very best. It's about the fun stories behind the pieces. It's about the exciting, fresh material. And my favorite part about it, when you go to the Winter Show, it's like a museum you can shop at. But the great thing is, there's a little something for everybody here.
So what are the pieces in your collection here today that you are sort of most excited about?
So we will actually start right here. This is a beautiful horse jumping through hoop weather vane. This company is A.J. Jewell and Company out of Massachusetts. They only made this model for 3 years. and this one is the only known signed example. So I'm a weather vane nut, as you can probably tell. And when I discovered this, my heart hit the floor. I was like, it has to come to the winter show. It must be mine. And it's like anything. The fun thing about being an antique dealer is we get to shop constantly for those things that we love. But the fun thing is not just seeing it here at the show, but eventually in somebody's home. And the best thing of all is when you meet great clients and you can connect with them, and just it's not about buying and selling; it's about friendships and
making sure these pieces go to the right people.
Absolutely. And I always say when I go to a client's home, it's like going back and visiting old friends.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, what is this incredible piece behind you with all of these drawers?
So this is a really rare, either late 18th or early 19th century apothecary cabinet. I've never seen one this big. So it would have sat in the back of your pharmacy back in the day. And I love all the different Latin inscriptions. I am not good with Latin. I'm sure your high school education might get it. Go to visitation. I'm sure the sisters taught you well. But you'll pick out some interesting things. Camphor. There's opium over there. It's got a great combination of things, but I just love all the little drawers. And when you pull them out and look at them, they're all dovetailed. And it shows all this wonderful use just from a life of being in a drugstore.
Right. And where could you imagine this in a home?
I always think about this either in somebody's kitchen or somebody's formal living room. And boy, if you had like stuff, little things to hide places. Could you imagine a little kid going through and opening all these drawers? I mean, it's just one of these pieces that anchors a room and just adds a great color. And if you look closely, there's all these old traces of green paint underneath it. Oh. So it just will really, really pop. And this actually came all the way from Santa Fe, New Mexico to me. So it has had a lifetime of exploring and around the world, and it is just one of my favorite things in the booth.
So I love the juxtaposition of this beautiful piece with the cat.
I have to say, I was reading through my labels this morning, and in the shop in Middleburg, we tend to be a little lighthearted. And when I was reading over my label for that, and it said, "This fluffy white cat won't get hair all over your black clothes," I was like, I can't do that one in New York. So we had to rewrite it. And this came from a really great folk art collection of Peter Toulouse. And before that, it came from another dealer here on the floor, Herschel and Adler. So when you find these great provenances, these great stories, I love to hear where pieces come from. I like to hear what the mystery is behind it. And with the bright greens and the white cat on the blue sofa,
I love it.
It's one that's kind of going to be hard to let go. We have a big fluffy white cat, or ours is brown, I should say. But I just love those piercing eyes too. It's
whimsical.
It's fun. And that's what this is about. You could always be very formal and serious, but I have fun mixing it all up. And let's put a piece of brown furniture next to a piece of Paul Evans, or let's take a great piece of folk art and set it in just a white room and let it stand out for its true beauty. That's the thing with antiques. Everybody thinks, oh well, it's so serious and fun. No, have fun with it. Use them. Sit in your chairs. Eat at your table. I can tell you this: when we were in Alexandria, Rebecca and I ate dinner every night off an 18th century tea table, and it found a good home. But it was so charming just being in that intimate setting with my wife. We had a little tea table. So I always tell people, find something that entertains you or that excites you, and just start small and go from there, because these pieces will melt your heart. Let's go over here to my dramatic seagull. So I love carvings. I think they are just something that will speak to anyone. So this bird has a great story. It turned up from a great dealer in Boston. And what I love about it is, look at how elegant these wings are. They start out real thick and just taper down to nothing at the end. And even the back has all the feathers. And he shows great personality. It's not one that's just, sitting there. And this reminds me when you're at the beach, the seagulls are everywhere.
Yeah, and they're snatching your sandwiches.
Yeah, exactly. And they're just waiting to take off. I was like, this is so exciting. Somebody has a beach house that this would be just perfect in.
This is an elegant seagull.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, and it's all it's wood.
It's all hand carved, and these are cast iron feet. And it supposedly was it hung in like a 1920s restaurant in Maine.
Cool.
So,
That's so cool.
It's just these great stories. And just to finish up, it's not we can't talk about restaurants without talking about the 10-cent lunch we're offering here at Thistlethwaite Americana.
Businessmen's lunch.
Absolutely. Only for an hour for 10 cents. So this was from 1880. And I saw that sign and my heart melted. And at the shop, it hangs over my office, and it is just hysterical.
Do you ever just want to buy everything up for yourself that you buy for potential clients?
I do, but I have what you call collecting ADD. I have it, I own it, I photograph it, and I play with it. And then I'm like, ooh, I want that, I want that.
So then it's out with the old
in with the new. Exactly. So it's a constant rotating circle with me, and it drives Rebecca crazy because we'll be sitting at a dining room table that we have, and I go, oh, honey, I sold that. We're gonna have to bring another one in. So but it's fun having this, and
keeps it fresh and exciting.
And half the fun, the exciting of decorating your home. We're constantly decorating, and even moving things around, whether it's in the shop or it's at our house. We live with all these pieces and we use them, and that's what everybody should do. You need to get together with your friends, sit around your antiques, use them, use your formal china, eat with your silver, have fun. Because that's what this world's all about.
I think that's a good way to be, Taylor. Thank you so much for showing us your collection.
To see you. And we expect you in Virginia soon.
That invitation will be accepted. Is this antique too?
Yes, I bought it in an antique market. It didn't cost me very much, like sort of
what is
$50 or something. It's a piece of wood. It's a piece of wood, and these were the branches would have come out. So.
That's a good-looking walking stick.
Yeah, it's lovely. I get stopped all the time in the subway in New York by people saying, that's a great walking stick.
It is a great walking stick. So we are here now with Thomas Henage, who has come all the way from London. And tell us about what you do, Thomas.
Well, I'm a bookseller with a bookshop in St James's in the centre of London, the historic centre of London. And I sell books in fine bindings. I sell books, reference books about the arts. And then I also sell precious objects of the sort that you might have found in a learned man's library in the 17th, 18th, 19th centuries. So I have engraved gems, but I have today something particularly special. And I don't believe that these have ever been seen, these sort of things have ever been seen in the United States, ever. We can't trace one in any American museum. We know that there's one in Uffizi in Florence, and a couple of others in museums, only about a dozen.
Well, you have to tell us what
and
it is.
I'm going to show you what they are.
Okay, tell us.
But and everyone looks at these and say, oh, this must be paper. But it's not. It's a much harder and much more valuable material than paper. Because this and the other one, I have two here, which is about 10% of the known examples in the world, or more than that, is a vellum cutting.
What is vellum?
Vellum is an animal skin that is cut and then pared down to a thinness. So you'll see here there are some different thicknesses and finenesses. That one you'll see is a bit rough. Mm-hmm. These two are quite thick. And this one has been pared down to close to a workable thinness. So it's alive. Well, it's not alive, but it's natural tissue. It's affected by climate, as we all are.
Sure.
And so this one has actually, just since I got here, has begun to wrinkle.
Because of the temperature?
Because of the temperature changes in New York City.
But this is all cut by hand?
This is cut by hand. It was done, it's dated, it was done in 1717. The artist, it's attributed to quite a well-known Dutch artist of paper cuttings at the time, But this, as I said, is vellum, and it's terribly intricately cut. I have no concept of quite how you do this work. It must be incredibly time-consuming and painstaking when you look at the little acorns here and the little birds hidden.
I can't even imagine what kind of scissors they
the
would have been doing, or not even scissors, probably little tools.
Well, I mean, I don't have steady enough hands to even know that they will have, I think, used a scalpel of some sort.
I think you're right.
And it was a very, very, very well-paid profession, because it took not just a very great deal of skill, but it took a most enormous amount of time. And the people who made these two things here will probably have received more for each piece of work than the cost at the time of a painting by Rembrandt.
That's an unbelievable fact.
Well, it's not so unbelievable, because if you look at that and think, the time that took, yeah, I can see why they were paid more than he was only a jobbing artist after all the time. No, but you see what I mean?
So, Diego.
Hi.
Hello. I feel like we're in your living room.
It is pretty much my living room, yes. So we buy things like that we're buying for ourselves.
So you sort of buy things that you would put in your own home.
Exactly.
So tell me about this sofa.
So this sofa is Bernard Gauvin, it's a French architect, and it's produced by Saporiti. It's called the Ellipse, and it is 1965. We were upholstered, of course, in this olive green, which works very well with the room that we're sitting in.
It's very architectural.
Extremely, yeah, very cubic, and it works very well with some of the 1930s pieces and, you know, the very modernist items. We've come from London. So we have a gallery, we're based in London and Madrid, and we have also a small space here in 200 Lexington in the Design Centre.
Oh, that's fabulous. And if you had to pick a favorite piece today, what would it be?
A favorite piece would be difficult because, as I said, it's like my children, but possibly the Robert Motherwell tapestry, which is an edition of 7 and 3 variations, and of this one there's only 2. So it's an extremely rare piece, which
beautiful.
I think will be very well received here.
And it's sort of neutral, so it can go anywhere.
Exactly, it's something that blends extremely well with a lot of interiors, and it's an artist that we're certainly going to go up in value.
And this is a stunning piece as well.
This is a very, very, very beautiful piece. 1933. It's by Pierre Baccarat, and it's got an extremely clever mechanism whereby the doors, you push here, and they each slide behind each other.
Oh my gosh.
So it's for 1930s, this is extremely modern. And then you can do the same on the other side, which, by the way, must have been a nightmare to make, because it's even a nightmare to figure out as an antique dealer how to open.
But it's beautifully made.
It's incredibly made. It's incredible. I mean, the mechanism is crazy.
Thank you all so much for watching this special edition of Homeworthy. I have been walking these halls for hours, in heels, might I add. It is time to go, my feet hurt, but don't forget to like and subscribe to Homeworthy for more home and decor content.